Rock or hip hop?
Girl, both. I have to be both. I'm a multifaceted being like all of us. I believe in something for every mood. My range of music taste ranges from the Queen Bee Beyonce herself to Swedish metal. It's a whole wide range and I love it all.
So tell us about your research.
Okay, so my research looks at the intersections and really the necessary supports of Indigenous community experiences, culture, ceremonies, and really our own voices in directing our healthcare. But we actually see this complicated and across a lot of different ways. In integrating Indigenous ways of knowing and understanding what we need to survive, we also need systems to change. So my research looks at some of those dimensions together. So how we can understand how our culture, our communities, our traditional ways of life are really important to access our healing, our stability, and our housing experiences, especially when we've experienced some of the worst and hardest ways of living and being, which is housing barriers and homelessness.
Why is this research so important?
It's a big question. I think part of why it's so important is that this unfortunately isn't a new issue. It's something that's persisted for decades and decades as colonial policies and more specifically colonial barriers have really pushed Indigenous peoples from our traditional ways of knowing, being, and practicing and living in the world. It's divided families and communities and also how we've been able to really work together to support each other. So it ends up pushing people into urban environments or to spaces where we have to enter into Western services to try and survive and take care of ourselves. The problem is that when we get to urban centers, there's so many persistent barriers, so many systemic aspects of racism and service challenges that unfortunately our people end up falling so much more through the cracks. And that's not just in Toronto. We see that exemplified and demonstrated in all urban centers across Canada and the United States, and also patterns similar in Australia. Pretty much anywhere we've seen the same patterns of colonization. We want to do better for our people. I know we want to make sure that the future isn't the same as the past has been, and Indigenous people are the fastest growing population in Canada. So when we look to the future and we want that future to be a good place, we want it to be a good place for everybody. So doing this research can help change some of those outcomes and make sure that the future is a safer place for our babies to be.
Why is Unity Health Toronto the ideal place to do this type of research?
Oh, Unity Health is so good. It's been so encouraging and supportive. I think it's a beautiful place, being so central, working across hospital networks, but also an independent research hub that focuses on fostering urban understandings and urban metrics while always and relentlessly kind of minimizing the barriers that can decenter Indigenous voices. So really uplifting the people's issues and concerns for the people's sake and helping to transform care. Unity Health, again, becomes uniquely located across its impacts and connections and networks to help translate these aspects, especially when people are seeking care. Again, looking at some of the barriers that face Indigenous people accessing primary care services, having the networks that we have here just allow for a seamless transition into direct care practice and hopefully also upwards into policy. I think it also is wonderful because the people here are so lovely. Everyone's trying our best to work together to support each other, and that means listening to each other and lending our strength to each other to help transform research collectively, really.
What is one thing you want people to know about Indigenous health?
I think something that people often think about when they hear Indigenous health is that it's not in any way connected to them or that it's another problem. But really, Indigenous teachings, perspectives, and ways of knowing is a different way of learning and being in the world. And it's actually in some ways very in-depth, very connected, and very enriched to who we are as human beings. And I think that's something that can benefit everybody. I think understanding and learning more about Indigenous ways of knowing and perspectives can actually help all of us and help enrich all aspects of how we understand our health as human beings and maybe help find a common ground of humanity with other people. So I think it's something that we're able to learn, and if we're able to listen and learn together, we can find something really beautiful and connected between us, no matter if we're Indigenous or not Indigenous.